Foolish mortals, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the 2018 horror crime thriller film, The Nun. Excuse me while I get something out of my eye. Back to my Conjuring cheat sheet. The Nun takes place in 1952, came out September 7th, 2018, directed by Corin Hardy, C-O-R-I-N, Corin. So this is the 5th movie in the Conjuring series. Now, the part where I went, oh, the most was at the very, very end, and we'll get to that. But this is a very interesting movie, and I say that because it was like twisted, dark and twisted, and awesome. It takes place in 1952. It's in Romania. So we start out with Father Burke, who is priest of the church, right? So he goes to Rome, goes to the Vatican. They send him to Romania, to a convent, because he investigates what can't be explained, kind of thing. A nun had killed herself, and a local farmer found her, hanging from a rope, and he put her in, like, the ice cellar of this giant Romanian castle that was built in the Dark Ages. That is now a nunnery, a abbey, I think is the word, a convent, an abbey. So, Father Burke meets up with a soon-to-be Sister Irene. She hasn't taken her vows yet, played by Vera Farmiga, who is, no, I'm sorry, not Vera Farmiga. Vera Farmiga? Something Farmiga. There's two Farmiga sisters. One plays Lorraine Warren, and then the other just played Sister Irene. Oh my god, I'm terrible with names right now. The day is just not working with me with names. My memory is dead. Let's see if I can remember everything I need to say. So, good luck to all of us. Okay. So, future Sister Irene, Father Burke, meet up with this farmer who they call Frenchie, because he's a French-Canadian, everybody calls him Frenchie, in Romania. So, he takes them to this giant castle, the convent, the abbey, whatever you want to call it, to do their investigations. So they wind up staying in the convent to do the investigation, but all hell breaks loose because all this stuff is happening, and we know that the nun is Valak, right? We learned this in The Conjuring 2, which takes place in 1977, and it came out in 2016. Okay. So, with all of that being said, oh, Vera Farmiga is Lorraine Warren. Taza Farmiga, I got it, is Irene. So they're sisters. There's a big age difference between them, but they're sisters. So it's nice seeing the Farmiga sisters in the same universe of film. Amazing films, by the way. So the three of them go, and then Frenchie winds up going back to his town, and then leaves the two of them there, but he winds up going back to save the day, basically. And he literally does. By doing so, Irene has all of these visions. Mary points the way, something to that extent. She winds up getting a key to the catacombs where this evil has been semi-contained during the bits of holiness that have gone on for the hundreds of years, since the Dark Ages. They wind up facing off against Valak, who's in nun form, and how Valak came to be, and they actually do explain this. So during the Dark Ages, the castle was made by this duke. He did a lot of sacrificing, made plans with the devil. Hell basically used him to make a literal portal from hell to earth. So that way an evil can come through. And evil did come through, but it was semi-contained, and then they built a church around it. They built a convent around it just to make sure that the evil is always contained, quote-unquote. But the evil has gotten stronger and wound up killing all of the nuns in the nunnery. Nunnery, I don't think is a word, but I like using it. And then there's like this whole relic thing of literal blood of Christ thrown into the mix. So it's it felt very much like National Treasure at some moments, where it's like, let me find this treasure that's ancient and leads to another thing and leads to another thing, a key to a key to a key. And it's like, it was historical, but it was fictitious, and it was just adventurous and horrifying and twisted and thrilling, and I was just blown away by all of it. The cinematography was my favorite because you have these camera pans of twisting around, which is exactly what happens in Annabelle. John Leonetti, he directed that one, and then, like I said, Corin Hardy directed this one. But it looks like the same kind of camera work, so I feel like they all had something to do with it, rubbing off against each other. It's all the same production companies anyway, but it was very similar. The camera would pan this way and that way around a character. The camera would zoom in and zoom out down a hallway, or zoom down on an angle on a castle and tilt a little bit when you're looking at Valak. So I'm looking at the camera work, the lighting, the cinematography. It worked very gorgeously. There was a point and I was like, oh my god, this is gorgeous. It was terrifying and horrifying and frightening and scary and everything in between, but it was gorgeous. So, with all of that, at the very, very end, you have Valak facing Sister Irene, who took her vows in this unholy church now, and Irene winds up ingesting the blood of Christ and spitting it in Valak's face, and he's melting. It is melting in this vast of now holy water. Basically, the dam has been sealed. The portal to hell has been closed, but in doing so, Valak left a little tiny mark on Frenchie, and Frenchie's real name is Maurice. Then we pan to 20 years later. Excuse me, not 20 years later. 16 years later? When did The Conjuring take place? 1971. This took place in 52. So 19 years later, right? When Ed and Lorraine Warren are doing a conference showing a exorcism, and Perrin, was her name Perrin? Roger and something. The very first family that we meet in The Conjuring that has the evil Bathsheba, witch, satanic witch, causing havoc on all the 5 girls. The mom. The name is not coming to me. It might come to me, but we'll see. Anyway, so she's in the audience during that conference, and the man that they're showing on the screen having that exorcism is Maurice, the Frenchman, nothing but a 3rd grade education, who was possessed. And you see that possession of Valak was what then latched to Lorraine, showing the potential death of Ed within The Conjuring 2, even though she prevented that by facing Valak and saying, I know your name. Your name is Valak, minion of snakes, the disguiser. I can't remember the words, but like that's how Valak goes from Romania to Connecticut. It's a little turn of events. Very interesting how it all flies together. Haha, really cool. I like that twist. I was like, no, Maurice. Okay, why can I not remember this woman's name? The husband's name was Roger. There was a girl who would always scream about her sister Nancy. Bathsheba popped up here and there. Karen? No. Carol? No. Carol was in Annabelle Creation. I don't remember. I see her face. I know the character. Like I told you in the beginning of this video, I am terrible with names today. I do apologize. But anyway, The Nun was terrifying. The Nun 2 should be awesome. I'm curious how The Nun 2 is going to happen, because Valak goes back to hell, but imprints on Maurice. So, like, what year is The Nun 2 going to take place? If Valak is finally vanquished in England by Lorraine Warren during Conjuring 2 in 1977? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. What do you guys think of The Nun? It was the highest grossing Conjuring film that has been made yet. So we'll see what happens next. It's an ever-growing universe with all intertwining, connected people and ghosts and spirits, human or not human. Super creepy. Awesome. Mucho mahalo.